So guys, today's session is all about my top 6 or 7, you'll find out a bit later on, book recommendations. Now, if you struggle with giving gifts, and you're a bit like me, I love giving books. Why? Because there's a book for everyone in the world, right? Even the people that say they don't like reading. I used to be one of those people. I used to say, I don't like reading, don't ever give me a book. There's a book even for people like me. So today I'm gonna share with you books that I'm either reading, read, or about to read, because I think that these books are really interesting. They're insightful, and they're about concepts that relate to different friends. And we all have one friend who's a bit more environmentally conscious. Maybe you have another friend who's really into the future and technology. Maybe you have a friend who's into history. I've got a recommendation for the most common friends that we all have. Of course, no stereotypes, but here are just some ideas. They're also great reads for you. So the first book I actually wanted to recommend to you is by Maya Angelou. This book, it's old, but it's incredible, right? I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This is a book that I read quite a while ago, but it's still there. It was on the New York Times bestseller list for like 2 years, which is an incredibly long time. And it's an autobiography. It's about her life. So if you don't know who Maya Angelou is, maybe you've seen one of her quotes pop up on Facebook. Maybe you saw her masterclass on Oprah. Or maybe you've just seen her name fly around social media sphere. So Maya Angelou was an American poet and civil rights activist. And this book talks about her personal challenges, her personal struggle dealing with racism. She's talking about her childhood. Her parents divorced at the age of 3. She's also talking about her feelings of rejection, inferiority, all at a very early age. Now, why is this book relevant, or who is it for? Who should you give this book for? It's someone who wants to look to the past to plan for the future. It's someone who wants to be inspired by someone else's story, who is able to overcome tougher challenges in some cases than some that we may ever face or experience, in a beautiful, incredible, and one filled with grace, right? And one filled with lots of integrity. It's an incredible, incredible story. And it's all about how strength of character and love of literature can actually help overcome racism and trauma. So with the current climate, with what we've just experienced in the country, if this is something you want to think about, I think this is a really objective way of looking at the situation, a great way of drawing great strength and great confidence from another story of someone who's actually been through it. And I know that this has also been used in several educational settings, so high schools, universities, colleges. So actually, if you're a teacher, if you're a student, you want to recommend this to people, if you're a parent, this is a great book to gift to those individuals so they can read it. Now, Oprah actually writes the foreword for this, and I just wanted to read a part of it to you. The book is, obviously, as an autobiography, it's hard to pick out an excerpt that I could read to you, but this is something that Oprah says, and I thought I should read it with all of you. Press the like and love button if you like Oprah as well. And here we go. I'm going to read 2 paragraphs to you, so stay tuned in. Maya Angelou lived what she wrote. She understood that sharing her truth connected her to the greater human truths of longing, abandonment, security, hope, wonder, prejudice, mystery, and finally, self-discovery, the realization of who you really are and the liberation that love brings. And each of those timeless truths unfolds in the first autobiographical account of her life. Now, this is the section. If you're a first timer, as in if this is your first time coming across Maya Angelou, as I was so many years ago, says Oprah, or revisiting an old friend, which is how I feel returning to these pages, you'll notice that even as a young writer, Maya delivered the theme that prevails throughout this book, the theme that became her siren call, a mantra that would resonate through all her speeches, her poems, her works, and her life, right? We are more alike than we are unalike. Right? A beautiful theme, a beautiful message. If you know someone who needs to read that book, to connect with that message, to find that message inside of them, this is an awesome gift. So my next book, this is one that I've actually been recommended by a number of people in the office. Whenever it came up, everyone was talking about it. It's not something that I've read in full. I've just been flicking through the pages, but it's something that caught my attention because I really, really loved the theme. So this book is called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Right? Press the like or love button if you like tidying up. Write in the comment section if you struggle with tidying up. I want to see, what do you struggle with? Do you struggle with tidying up? Right? Do you feel that you have friends who struggle with tidying up? Now, I'm not going to ask you to name names, but when you turn up to someone's home and you know that they've just shoved everything into a cupboard, or maybe you're that person yourself, right? Whichever one it is, this is the life-changing magic of tidying up, the Japanese art of decluttering and organizing, right? It's the #1 New York Times bestseller, 3 million copies sold, so it's definitely been very popular and famous. How many of you know that you have friends with clothes lying around on the floor, unorganized admin, the inability to declutter, right? How many of you have friends that you go over to their homes and they, no, I can't get rid of that, that's important to me, I can't get rid of that, that's important to me, and everything in their room seems important to them and things that they can't get rid of at all. So this book is, what I like about it from the brief reading I have done of this book so far, is that it's really practical. It's a really simple idea, and I love books that have simple ideas, books that just cut right through to the essence, books that you can really understand very, very quickly. And I love the names of the chapters. So I wanted to tell you about the name of a chapter that made me feel better. So the first chapter is actually called You Can't Tidy If You've Never Learned How. That's exactly what I used to tell my mum, right? I'm just like, how am I meant to tidy when I don't know how to tidy effectively, right? When have we actually stopped to think? That is an awesome book, more than just about tidying up, Kevin. Yeah, I completely agree. It's so much for those friends that you feel need wellness in their life. And the way I wanted to show you that is that the author actually writes here some of the things that people who she's coached, helped, and given this advice and wisdom to, what they've actually benefited from. So here's what she says, listening carefully. From my exploration of the art of organizing and my experience helping messy people become tidy, there is one thing I can say with confidence. This is the part you got to listen to. A dramatic reorganization of the home causes correspondingly dramatic changes in lifestyle and perspective. It is life transforming, right? This is not just about tidying up. It's talking about how one habit or one change or one space can actually transform different areas of your life. And I remember learning this, and this was interesting because I saw this as a parallel between living as a monk and actually what I've recently found out by reading Tim Ferriss's book about what they're taught in the Navy and what you're taught in the military. So one of the things I was taught when I lived as a monk was that the first task of the day when you woke up, after of course feeling grateful for waking up, after being grateful for the opportunity of life, was to actually make your bed, right? To actually just make your bed properly, right? Pulling the sheets, right, etc. Now we slept on the floor, so it wasn't much of a bed. It wasn't that difficult. It didn't have all these decorative pillows or anything like that. But the whole aim was to complete that task effectively, efficiently, with love, with care, with attention. Because when you planted those thoughts at the beginning of the day, that means all your acts throughout the day would be inspired with that same ethos. Now, I learned that many, many years ago, and it's something that I tried to do. It's probably something I don't do as well anymore. But I remember when I was reading Tim Ferriss's book, he spoke about particular military officers and Navy officers who were taught exactly the same habit. So it's phenomenal. So this is what people gain by being tidy. After your course, I quit my job and launched my own business doing something I dreamed of doing ever since I was a child. This is not a book about how to market yourself. This is not a book about how to make money. This is a book about how to tidy, organization, declutter your mind and your life, but it can help you do that. Your course taught me to see what I really need and what I don't. So I got a divorce, now I feel much happier, right? Relationship. Someone I have been wanting to get in touch with recently contacted me, right? These are all the benefits that people wrote in with. I'm delighted to report that since cleaning up my apartment, I've been able to really increase my sales. This is another one. My husband and I are getting along much better. Another one. I'm amazed to find that just throwing things away has changed me so much. And the last one, I finally succeeded in losing 10 pounds, right? It's incredible to think that this Japanese art of decluttering and organizing is decluttering the mind, decluttering, providing clarity to decision making, giving much clarity in relationships, business, life, etc. right? It's so much beyond tidying up, as Kevin rightly said. So I definitely recommend this to a friend who wants lifestyle advice, recommend it for a friend who wants any sort of advice or insight into actually finding that. Now I wanted to read more of it for you as well. So this is some advice. I want you to see how practical it is. So I hope you're enjoying this. I want to read your comments in a section as well. This is really interesting. So page 28. Make tidying a special event, not a daily chore. Wow, right? Just reading that just blows my mind. Make tidying a special event, not a daily chore. So she goes, this usually elicits a moment of stunned silence. Totally, right? For me. Of course, there are countless perspectives on tidying. And then she goes on to say, to put it more accurately, the work of tidying should be completed once and for all within a single period of time, right? Just imagine if you could do that effectively. If you think tidying is an endless chore that must be done every day, you're gravely mistaken. There are two types of tidying: daily tidying and special event tidying. Daily tidying, which consists of using something and putting it back in its place, will always be part of our lives, as long as we need to use clothes, books, writing materials, and so on. But the purpose of this book is to inspire you to tackle the special event. So if you're inspired by that, if it's something you want to get involved in, think about it. Now, this was really interesting, this part of the book that I read, which is all about how things make you feel. I love things about energy. How many of you have something in your rooms, in your bedrooms, in your lounge, wherever it is, that has some positive energy? Let me know in the comment section what those things are. What do you have in your home that when you hold it, when you see it, when you even think of it, it brings positivity to your mind? Think about it. If you don't, this is a good time to reflect on how you could add something like that to your room, to your space. I guess you're mixing mindfulness with organizing stuff. No, Stanzin, part of actually becoming mindful is learning to declutter externally and internally. They're very much connected. Buying this book from my roommate. Yeah, definitely be careful when you're buying these books, right? People might think you're trying to send them subliminal messages that aren't so subliminal. They're actually quite direct. If you buy someone a book about tidying up, they're going to know that you think they need to tidy up, right? So be careful what you write in your card or in the front of the book when you give it. Make sure they don't feel judged. Make sure they don't feel that they're being stereotyped, put in a box. Make sure it's given with compassion and not judgment, right? Really important point. When you're giving these books to people, and every time I'm saying one of these book titles, you're probably thinking, oh, I know someone who could use that. Few lessons. The first one, if you think you know someone who could use that, you probably could too, right? Everything we see in others is partly a reflection of ourselves. The second thing is when you give it, don't give it in judgment, don't give it in criticism, give it in compassion. It's the holidays. We want to spread compassion, not judgment across the place. Now this third one, this is a brilliant book. It's called The Circle. This is for your tech geek friends, your friends that like the future, your friends that like technology, your friends that like to learn about the internet, about the online world, who are fascinated with new tools, new technologies, new virtual reality, artificial intelligence. They get a buzz talking about data and privacy and security, right? These are great books for people in the business world. If you know anyone that works in IT, that works in technology, this is a great book to give them. Now, this book is for that future. It's The Circle by Dave Eggers. And there's going to be a movie, I believe it's in 2017, with actually Emma Watson and Tony Hanks as the main actors in this movie. Now, the main character, May Holland, played by Emma Watson, she gets this new job at this amazing internet company, right? The biggest or best internet company in a world that's created. It's a fiction book. And, well, it's fiction, but it feels so real, right? It feels so real. It's like a future that's not so far away. So if you're watching Black Mirror on Netflix, if you're a fan of Ex Machina, movies like that, this is a great book that you will enjoy. It's the post-Snowden era conversation around data, security, privacy. It's got suspense. It's a bit of a thriller. It can get you scared about what could happen. It may make you slightly paranoid, but it's a great book for people who really enjoy learning about what the future holds. And so this is a great book if you're interested in those kinds of topics, a great book to give away to a friend working in that space. And I was thinking about this recently. With all the technologies that we use for free now, we've got to realize that when something's free, if we're not the customer, we're likely to be the product, right? That's the interesting thing there. If you're not the customer of something, if you're not paying for something, you're likely to be the product. So you may find this interesting as well. It's a bit of fiction. I don't usually recommend fiction, but this fiction is so close to reality. Now, the reason why I'm fascinated by this book is because maybe you have a friend who loves the environment. Maybe you have a friend who loves nature. Maybe you have a friend who loves the outdoors, all right? Someone who loves exploring, someone who really values nature, someone who likes learning about different plants, different backgrounds, different history of a space. Or maybe someone who just likes experiencing it by being there physically or thinking about it. And when I moved to New York earlier this year, one of the things that I was really excited about being in the United States was the ability to visit these stunning national parks that are actually there in this country. So this book called The Hour of Land, right? It's a personal, phenomenal story of how to actually visit national parks, experiences in national parks, etc. And I'm just going to read the back of the book to you because I thought it was beautiful. We've made mistakes in our relationship with those who came before us and the land that holds their histories. mistakes in how we have managed and misunderstood the wild. But after spending a lifetime immersed in our national parks, I believe we're slowly learning what it means to offer our reverence and respect to the closest thing we have to sacred lands, right? Beautifully written, so much more than just being out in nature, but actually valuing the sanctuary, how sacred these spaces actually are. I'm really excited to visit a lot of these national parks. And I was blown away when I read that, 300 million people yearly visit these national parks. And we today read so much about the benefits of nature. We read so much about the benefits of needing to be in the outdoors, If you want to have a good connection, you need to go out in the outdoors because we're not bugged by our mobile phones. We can have digital detoxes. We can actually look further than a building, right? Right now, if you're walking through the city, the wind is just flying through and all you see is a building. That's the furthest you can see. Imagine being able to look so far that you can even, just see green for like miles and miles and miles. It's something that's really powerful. So this book, just started reading it. Very interesting. Great ideas, great insights into how we can actually make more of these national parks. So for anyone in the States, this is a great book, a great gift to give away for someone who likes to travel. Maybe you've got friends who are travel junkies, travel bloggers, people who are writing about being in the outdoors. This is a great book that actually beautifully conveys this message in one that I've not seen before. It's not just a tour guide. It's not written in that way. It's written from a very personal point of view. So what is a good gift? A good gift is thoughtful. Right? It's something where you've actually thought about the individual, you've thought about what they like, it's personalized for that reason, right? It's not something that you could have given to anyone. And books are phenomenal gifts because they're gifts that don't get old. They're gifts that don't go out of fashion. They're gifts that stand the test of time. You buy anything else, like you buy shoes, you buy a coat, you buy clothes, you buy anything like that, you buy a phone, you buy a laptop, all these things won't live with someone forever. A book is something that can actually stay in someone's life for the whole of their life, and they can have it there, right? It's books are incredible gifts, something that someone can turn to at any point in time and find something from. You're actually facilitating someone's lifelong growth, or that facility for them to have that opportunity to dive into a book and learn again, grow again, and evolve. It's far beyond just a holiday gift, right? This gift is going to last for much, much longer. So I hope you like that. This next one is one that I actually did a session on. So this book by Aziz Ansari, Modern Romance, I actually did a session all on this book. I love it, right? If you want to give someone relationship advice, if someone wants to understand relationships better, this isn't just a how-to guide. It's not just tips on having a better relationship. It's actually a sociological study and analysis and research on how our expectation of relationships have changed, on how our understanding of what love is has changed over time, and actually dives into much more sociological studies. And the reason why I think that's important is because it helps you raise self-awareness. Rather than saying you need to do this, you need to do that, it gives you more context around the conversation so that you can find what you define love as, what you really think about. So I wanted to share some from this as well. Let me just flick through a page. The thing I love, look, lots of charts, pie charts, lots of graphs, things like that to actually explain it. So it's way beyond just a how-to book and a book. It's an exploration of love itself. And I want to read a section for you that I really, really like. So for the book, Eric and I wanted to see what would happen if we were able to gather groups from different generations to discuss dating, past and present. When we talked to older people who were in happy, successful marriages, the way they had met sounded quaint and simple, with much less stress than singles go through today. Sure, they met at a young age and probably weren't as sophisticated than as they later became, but as one woman told me, we grew up and changed together, and here we are in our 60s, still together, right? And it goes on, and it's just this wonderful analysis and exploration of how relationships have changed generation after generation. And it also goes into technology, a lot about Tinder in here as well. So if you've got friends using Tinder, want to get some more advice on the stats around Tinder. If you're even thinking, what's the best way to ask someone out? Here's a table that shows you what people prefer under 30 and over 30. So even if you haven't plucked up the courage to ask someone out, to ask someone a question, to get to know someone, it's got some great practical tips for you of using technology to do just that, right? So a great book for anyone with dating challenges, interested in dating. It's just a fun read, actually. It's literally like, it feels more like an audiobook. If you know who Aziz Ansari is, phenomenal comedian, you actually feel like he's reading the book to you. It sounds so much like him, right? So definitely one to check out. And I wanted to read a page to you as well, or actually show you a page, which I found hilarious. He talks about loads of funny trends that we see today, and he talks about the generic hey text. And he says that when he looked through countless girls' mobile phones, he found that the most message they receive, the most common message they receive from men is the generic hey text. Hey, 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 as you can see right here, right? It goes on and on and on and on and on. And when he's talking about this, he's laughing because he's just like, can't we be more creative? Like, if, can you not be more creative? Can you not be more personal? Can you not have more of a brain rather than just putting in hey? And there's loads of examples of the worst text ever sent, and it's brilliant because it's so true. I'm sure many of you have seen this on your friends' phones. Maybe some of you have sent these, right? Be honest with yourself. But whichever one it is, it's a great book. Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. I've done a whole session on it, so I won't speak about it for too long, but definitely one that I recommend for a friend who's interested in relationships, interested in sociology, interested in research, interested in analyzing how relationships have changed. This book, you've probably seen it absolutely everywhere, right? I gifted this as a book to one of my friends earlier this year. You Are a Badass, right? It's a self-help book for people who desperately want to improve their lives but don't want to get busted doing it. Now, this book, simple advice, straight to the point, it's blunt. It's actually a great gift for people who say, I don't like self-development. It's a great book for people who doubt the power of quotes. Have you got a friend who, when they see a quote, they're like, oh, that's cheesy, get that away from me? When they see someone talk about self-development, they say, that's not for me, I've got my life figured out, I don't need any of this. How many of you have a friend who says to you, I don't need self-development books, I don't need those corny quotes, I don't need to hear any of that stuff, I'm actually just fine by myself? The reason why it's for that person is because the author, Jen Sincero, she was actually like that. So she actually starts the book. Funnily enough, I was too. So I can really relate to this when she said it. And I wanted to share with you what she actually says. So she starts to think of this. She starts to write like this. I used to think of quotes like this were a bunch of crap. I also didn't understand what the hell they were talking about. I mean, not that I cared. I was too cool. What a little I knew about the self-help spiritual world, I found to be unforgivably cheesy. It reeked of desperation, rah-rah churchiness, and unwanted hugs from unappealing strangers. And don't even get me started on how grouchy I used to be about God, right? Great read for someone who you think isn't into self-development, but could deal with some real, creative, insightful, and straight to the point advice. I'm going to read you some of it. This is a really good book. I shared it on social media, one of the pages that I liked the other day. So she talks about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. Our conscious mind thinks that it's in control, but isn't. And our subconscious mind doesn't think about anything, but is in control. Nice and simply put, she goes on to explain how our subconscious and conscious mind affect us, right? Here's another thing I love, this page. I posted this page on Facebook and on Twitter yesterday. It got a lot of love because I think it's a great book. It's called, great page, it's called Do Things You Love. It comes from the Joseph Campbell of, follow your bliss, right? Find your bliss and follow your bliss. And the way she explains it makes it really, really simple. I'll read it again for you. When you constantly deny yourself the people, food, things, and experiences that make you feel the most alive, that sends a pretty lousy message home. Look at your life and see where you're letting yourself down. If you hear yourself saying things like, I love going out to see live music, I can't remember the last time I did, make time. We're all busy, but it's the people who make enjoying their lives a priority who enjoy their lives. Right now, there are thousands of people all over the world at yoga retreats, overlooking the ocean, dancing their asses off at outdoor music festivals or whooping it and up on the Disney cruise of their dreams, right? She's talking about how to create a life that we all want, but not in the cheesy sense. She's just giving really straight to the point advice. She's just getting really, really real. Become aware of what you're gaining from your stories, right? She talks about the need to understand. I've talked about this before. I have a video on this of the stories you tell yourself define who you are, right? It's the stories you tell yourself that define who you are. And it's so, so important that we write the right stories, we share the right stories, we inspire the right stories in other people as well. Let's say, for example, that your story is that you're depressed. Chances are pretty good that even though it feels awful, when you feel awful, you don't have to work hard or do the laundry or go to the gym. It also feels very familiar and cozy and comfortable. It gets you attention. People come in and check on you and sometimes bring food. It gives you something to talk about, right? But she talks about how we can change our stories. So this is for someone who needs to change the stories of their life, someone who could deal with self-development, someone who wants a book about motivation and inspiration. Could also be for that person who's cynical about it. A great, great recommendation. And my final book recommendation, right? We have been through 6 books. You Are a Badass, right? By Jen Sincero. Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari. The Hour of Land by Terry Tempest. The Circle by Dave Eggers. I can just about hold all these books. They're getting thick. Marie Kondo. The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Right? There we go. And finally, Maya Angelou. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. We've been through 6 books. Right? Check that out. Look, all of them right there. Thick books. I just shared on Instagram earlier that I like big books and I cannot lie, right? There you go. Look, huge books right there. And I'm going to finish off with the final book that we recommend for you in this holiday season. It's this one, right? There's no name, there's no author, there's no title, there's no publisher. It's just a notebook. Okay, it's got Moleskine written on it, but you get the point. It's a notebook. It's a blank, and it's a nice white blank notebook. You can get any color you like. They come in any color. But my recommendation to you is give this gift to someone, and I would really recommend this as a gift for yourself as well. Start writing the stories you want to live, right? Start writing the stories you want to live. It will change your life. It will blow you away that when you start writing your intentions, you start writing your goals, you start writing what matters to you, you start writing what you're learning, you start writing what you're grateful for, you start writing who's helping you, you start writing all of these amazing things. You will start writing an unbelievable book of life. You can call it whatever you like, put your name as the author. This is something that I really recommend as a gift for yourself and as a gift for anyone you believe needs to start rewriting their life, right? Redefining, rethinking. There are so many wonderful things we can write about daily. You don't have to be a great writer to be a great liver, right? You just write a bit and keep living it, see it manifest in your life and make a difference. Guys, it's been phenomenal talking to you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. I'll see you then. Thanks so much.